Planetworka, a world in development. Southern Leyte, 2010. As any humanitarian will tell you, disasters are about people, not events, and the real stories in disasters are intensely personal. I'm reminded of this when I join a group reviewing a disaster response program in the aftermath of one of Philippines' worst landslides. We're in the town of St. Bernard in Southern Leyte, the site of a massive landslide in 2006. It is situated on the Pacific coast and the first town on the mountain road from the eastern side of Sogod Bay. St. Bernard is a peninsula and therefore it is almost entirely surrounded by water, and the majority of the people who live in the flatlands engage in fishing as their main mode of livelihood. Those who live in the mountains live through farming. After 10 days of solid rain, a minor earthquake dislodged a cliff face from the hills above Ginswang village on the edge of St. Bernard in 2006. The resultant mass landslide of mud and rock effectively buried the village at the foot of the hills, resulting in the loss of over 1,000 lives. Heartbreakingly, the mudslide occurred during a school morning, and a significant number of the fatalities were children and teachers from the village school, which was in session and buried by the slide. Tragically, several residents had left the area the week before due to the fear of landslides and had returned when the rains had eased. The hillside over the village has been reshaped, and a shrine of remembrance contains photos and memories of those lost, and flowers, mementos, and messages from their surviving loved ones. We tread around these, somber and respectful, on our visit, and are joined by a young man and woman bearing flowers. It turns out that they are the son and daughter of a mother who quite coincidentally lost her life on that day. Their story unfolds as they chat to us. As often happens in events of this kind, there is a sort of lottery of life. People who should be there that aren't and survive, those that shouldn't and don't, and events that coincide with disaster. It turns out that on that day of the disaster, the Ginswang Women's Health Association was celebrating their 5th anniversary. The association had been formed and supported by an inspirational community health activist, Felicidad Langan, or Dade to her family and friends, and mother to these two paying their respects. Dade had come to the village for the day's celebrations and planning for another year of activity with the association. As fate would have it, that was the day the hill fell down, obliterating the village and with it the association. Our two companions lost their mother that day. From every tragedy must also come reflection, and there has been learning from that day. Disaster risk reduction programs in the district are now part of everyday community life and planning. While we are in the town, local government officials describe a mass evacuation simulation. An entire village preparing for when disaster strikes. It's an impressive response, and I'm touched by the commitment and resilience of these townfolk, many of whom are survivors or children of survivors of the mudslide disaster. It is people at the end of the day who will help to prepare for and mitigate the impact of disasters, and we need to be supporting their efforts to do so. As money continues to decline for disaster risk reduction efforts, the impact of disasters and the deaths that arise from them are likely to continue to rise. Remembering Dade's adult children, clearly still grieving their loss, I'm also struck by their obvious pride in their mother's dedication and achievements. She is as much a hero and inspiration as many other heroes that are celebrated more publicly and loudly. Only her story is one of personal dedication and inspiration to her colleagues, her family, and community. As it turns out, she made the ultimate sacrifice for her ideals. Her children are rightly proud of her and her legacy, and we should acknowledge and celebrate our true local heroes more. Community workers and social justice activists who knit the fabrics of our societies, and by doing so put themselves at the risk out of the glare of the media machine. We salute you, and we stand with you and your families.